But first, every single Australian, young and old, is very soon quite possibly going to be forced to choose between freedom and slavery. That might sound extreme or even hyperbole, as we say on Outsiders, but it is nonetheless the truth. The authoritarian forces within the government, both Labor and Coalition, have empowered the eSafety Commissioner Julie Inman Grant to begin implementing digital censorship into this country. Once imposed, it will be impossible to ever break free of the shackles which almost inevitably will tighten like a python squeeze around our liberties. Clive James once said the problem with Australians isn't that we are descended from convicts, but that we are descended from prison officers. And that is the great dilemma that lies at the heart of the Australian character. The larrikin instinct versus the authoritarian instinct. We saw the larrikin instinct in both world wars, where our diggers fought to free the West from fascism and tyranny. And we saw the larrikin spirit make Australian entrepreneurship and creativity and music and comic genius the envy of the world throughout the 60s, 70s and 80s. That was the time, of course, when even the mere mention of an Australian identity card had Aussies up in arms, and rightly so. But since those golden days, we've become more and more authoritarian, as political correctness poisoned public discourse and entertainment, culminating in the horror show that was the Australian response to COVID, where our leaders merrily trashed all our individual freedoms and God-given rights. But the threat to individual liberty we now face has the potential to be even worse, far worse than COVID. And that is the threat posed by digital censorship. In a nutshell, the state, under the spurious guise of protecting kids from online harm, is about to impose age restrictions on internet usage, which by definition begins the process by which the government eventually, and fairly rapidly actually, has the ability, the potential ability to control every action every Australian does online. Your banking, your booking, your buying, your browsing. All of it will literally be at the fingertips of some busybody bureaucrat. Many people say, well, so what? If I'm doing nothing wrong, what have I got to hide? And that's a reasonable argument. But it's also breathtakingly naive because it implies that there is an objective definition of what is right and what is wrong, which for many religious and common sense people, there is. But not, I hate to say it, for our politicians. As we saw during COVID, what is right and what is wrong depends entirely on your political persuasion, not on objective truth. And the police will do whatever their political masters insist is the right thing to do without any individual conscience whatsoever that I could discern. In my opinion, for it to possibly work, the eSafety's Commissioner's under-16 internet ban will almost certainly require every single Australian to create an eternal and unerasable digital ID linking that person biometrically to every single activity they undertake in the modern online world, where you travel, what you buy, what you think. All of it will have the potential to not only be scrutinised, but to be cancelled at the push of a button by politically motivated authoritarians. Yesterday we learned of the brilliant comedic writer Graham Linehan being arrested at Heathrow Airport by 5 armed officers on suspicion of inciting violence because of 3 silly tweets criticising transgender women, i.e. biological blokes, that he put online in America months ago. Graham, of course, wrote Father Ted, The IT Crowd, and Black Books, one of the funniest and most politically incorrect shows of the last few decades.
Oh, my God.
What?
It's Hal. Hal Granger. I was at college with him.
Well, go and say hello.
Oh, no, don't. He confuses me.
What?
He confuses me. He's a total but he's got this voice and it just does things to me.
Fran?
Fran? Of course, Graham is a popular TV writer, and his outrageous arrest at Heathrow made international headlines around the world. Here he was, fronting up to court yesterday, remaining defiant and channeling our old mate Billboard Chris, no less.
Do you have a few words ahead of today's appearance?
These guys, I'm never going to say anything.
But ask yourself, do you really think, after what we witnessed during COVID, if you were arrested, say at Melbourne Airport, on some anti-vax or anti-trans or anti-climate change or anti-immigration tweet you made, you would make international headlines? Just ask Monica Smith, who languished in a Victorian prison for 22 days and nights because of a Facebook post. And apart from this network, nobody in the media batted an eyelid to help her. Nigel Farage spoke to the American Congress yesterday about Britain's erosion of free speech.
We've kind of forgotten the Voltairean principles that we'll fight and defend to the death your right to say something that we fundamentally disagree with. That is the absolute foundation, if you think about it, of free speech, of democracy, of living in freedom. It's kind of why we fought 2 world wars. I come from the land that gave us the mother of parliaments, and it doesn't give me any great joy to be sitting in America and describing the really awful authoritarian situation that we have now sunk into. The Online Safety Act was put in place by the last Conservative government. I don't doubt for a minute they're good intentions, but sometimes the road to hell is paved with those good intentions.
Nigel is completely accurate there. The UK Telegraph has published a shocking list of all the victims of Britain's Orwellian hate speech laws. It goes on and on and on. Nigel Farage then outlined exactly where those good intentions end up when the bureaucrats and the politicians start to apply these insane draconian censorship laws to everyday citizens.
And we are now where we are. We have a couple of very famous cases. We, of course, have Lucy Connolly, who put out an intemperate tweet after the savage murder of those 3 beautiful young girls, she herself, a mother who had lost a child. It was intemperate, it was wrong, but she removed it 3.5 hours later, sentenced to 31 months in prison. And we, of course, have the extraordinary events that we understood yesterday of Graham Linehan, the comedic writer, and he put out some tweets months ago when he was in Arizona. And months later, he arrives at Heathrow Airport to be met by 5 armed police. He's not even a British citizen. He's an Irish citizen. This could happen to any American man or woman that goes to Heathrow that has said things online that the British government and British police don't like.
Nigel Farage was warning the Americans about the danger of authoritarian digital censorship. But the joke is, it is we here in Australia, in my opinion, who are in far, far greater peril if we sign on to these government eSafety digital IDs.